Welcome to day 195 of TFIF 365. And today I was reminded, I was watching a Prohibition documentary. I watch a whole bunch of historical documentaries, particularly about U.S. history, particularly when it comes to how people in power create laws, policies, procedures, systems, institutions that have unexpected, unintended outcomes. And prohibition is one of those. And something that was said in that documentary just stuck with me because they were talking about the repeal of prohibition. It was very clear that it wasn't working. It was very clear that it contributed to more violence. That was the rise of the mafia and the bootleggers, and there was a lot going on. And people didn't stop drinking. Even when they poisoned the industrial alcohol, people still drank. And something they said in that documentary really rang home for me, and I want to bring it into context about what I talked about yesterday and some other things that I've been challenged with is from impossible to, what is it? From impossible to, I'm gonna have to come back because I just remember, hold on, wait a minute. From impossible to inevitable. See, that's how the ADHD brain works. I just read it and I'm not gonna cut that out because again, I'm not an influencer. I'm not trying to show you a polished, fake veneer. I'm showing you how it fucking really live, how it really is to live in my head, in my life, with my lived experience, as I attempt to model supremacy-free, coercion-free, discrimination-free, and exploitation-free. So that was a digress caveat. But yeah, from impossible to inevitable, because the thought of repealing a amendment had never been, that's why prohibitionists thought they were in, even if it wasn't working, they didn't care. They thought they had it, right? Because no one had ever repealed an amendment. So what they did was, no one could think of it. So what they did was, instead of repealing their amendment, they created an amendment that voided that amendment. And so as I create something out of nothing, and this is what I have to remind myself, I'm good until I look at my bank account. And that's what's so funny, because I've been doing this for not even 6 months. I've actively been working on this since May. The ideas have been working since January. I've been trying to put them together since May. And the fact that I haven't thought of a way to bring in income from this is not unheard, should not be unheard of. And it makes me think of all those other times that things were impossible and then they became inevitable. Like me 10 years ago when my father passed away, leaving education officially and going into tech. I literally sent a text message to friends and family and said, I'm leaving education, I'm going into tech. And I put that in quotes because I followed that with, when I figure that out, I'll let you know. So I'm in that space again. And that 10-year horizon in my life completely changed. And that's what keeps me optimistic about this work. This is what keeps me optimistic about this path. This is what keeps me optimistic about the mission that I find myself on, is because I've been here before. It hasn't been this internal driving before. It's usually been some external thing. You know, I want to do something, there's a path to do it, documented path to do it, and I follow those steps, and then I add my own little spin to it, right, and make it work for myself. And this has been just a totally different experience. I am very uncomfortable, feel very vulnerable, very not sure of myself. And then I have to remind myself that systems, institutions, and policies designed to privilege the few at the expense of the many created a situation for me to feel this way about myself and about how I move around the world, as well as remember how many times the impossible became the inevitable. So just remember that, how many times in your life the impossible became the inevitable. And I just do want to come back to the fact that I had to cut this video off, go look at my notes and come back to get that, is because, again, I don't want you to believe or think that in 10 years, when I'm talking about this, when my life is completely showing up as I want, I'm living exactly how I envision now, 10 years from now, that you didn't understand that there was a path, that you somehow walk away believing that I was as sure as, I knew from day one that this was going to be a success. I know it's going to be a success. How I'm going to get there is totally unknown to me at this point. And I, again, am not that person who's going to blow, as the old woman says to me, as the old lady says to me, blow smoke up your ass. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass, because being a pioneer, being a revolutionary, it's scary. It's scary because that's the whole point. You're going ahead. You're being a pioneer. You're doing something that isn't done. And so the same thing with those people who thought prohibition would solve their problems, when they realized that they that they actually exacerbated the issues. Then there was a group of people who had to pioneer to say, hey, this is nonsense. This is hypocrisy. The people who enforcing this law are actually breaking the law. There's so many parallels to today. And so that's why I'm bringing that up again, because there's so many parallels to today. And as you watch, whatever you watch to get your information, it's scary. It's the noise. It's the continuous, every day there's something else. And the thing that I want you to hold on to, for those of us who want supremacy-free, coercion-free, discrimination-free, and exploitation-free, those who want to experience equal value, equal access, equal leverage, and equal agency, we have to really hold ourselves 10 toes down on what was once impossible inevitably becomes inevitable. Yeah. So until tomorrow, peace.